We just won the championship 4 years ago, and there's no one left from the championship team. And that goes to show we are in the midst of a rebuild. I know what you're thinking. Courtney Vandersloot is still there, but she, in fact, left the team, went and won a ring somewhere else, and kind of came back probably to give back to the organization, be somewhere familiar, somewhere she can still get minutes because she did go out of the starting lineup for New York while she was there. So this is probably a better spot for her, but this is an overlap or overlay from winning the championship. She actually left, and everybody from that squad is gone, and that's kind of a telltale sign of a team needs to rebuild. You don't have any more of that championship DNA. You don't have the star player still there. We've seen teams go through rebuilds and still have their star player. Like after Shaq left LA, Kobe stayed, and they went through some hard times and eventually got a Paul Gasol, Lamar Odom, and drafted Andrew Bynum, and then they came back and won some more rings. And that's just where the sky are right now. You just won a championship. You just won one. I think the only other teams that won since then were the Aces in New York, right? If I remember correctly. Wait, there was one more. But you get what I'm saying? Like we're at ground zero. This is our first year with nobody, no overlap, no overlay. Dana Evans was part of the championship team. Why am I drawing a blank with the braids? Diamond, part of that championship team. So this is the first year that nobody's there, that overlaid from that championship team. So we're in a rebuild. There's other young teams that appear to be doing better, but they didn't just win a championship a few years ago. I remember celebrating the championship. That's what made me become a Sky fan. Candace Parker came over. I love Candace Parker, so I started watching the Sky, and that was just a team I stuck with until Sabrina came in the league, and I like Sabrina. Like, that's my favorite player. But I just celebrated a championship for my WNBA team a few years ago. And so I now have to realize can't speed up the process. This is just the process. NBA team said trust the process, and they went through 10 years of rebuilding, and it never panned out. It's still not panning out. And that's the thing about rebuilds. You take time. We see in the men's league, the Pacers had a downtime after Paul George and Roy Hibbert and those guys left. But now they're in the conference final with a young core, but some of them have been around for a long time. Miles Turner has been there for a long time. They traded for a star in Halliburton. So that's just the process of building, or you build through the draft. And it looks like that's probably for now the way Chicago is going to go. We have our two cornerstone pieces. And then you bring in some they're going to learn a lot from these vets that they have here now. Because they weren't part of a championship. They aren't like, hey, we the ones that won the championship in this organization. This is our team. That's what we've seen a little bit last year. And these vets are going to teach them how to be pros. They're going to teach the cornerstones what to do in a losing streak. They're going to teach, you know what I mean? These are the years at the ground bottom, but these are important years for the cornerstone players to go through. And then what will happen is you will draft that next star. You got to realize the cornerstones came in one draft. Just one draft. So we're not looking at even a 2-year process. These are just one draft. So either you draft another star because you have another slow year, or you end up getting a trade or somebody wants to come over to your organization because they see your cornerstone pieces are starting to develop. And that's what we see happen in all the leagues. We could look at for example, the Indiana Fever. They're on the bubble because they've been in such a rebuild for a long time. But they've had Kelsey Mitchell for, I think she's been there 8 years. They've had Lexi Hull for a while. They have players that's been there that just were developing. Then they got Aaliyah Boston. Like, okay, she was an all-star first year. Okay, we got something now. We got one piece. And then they bring in, it doesn't mean you're going to have a winning season when you get that first year of getting the right draft picks. It's the same thing for Chicago. Just because you drafted Kamilla, and it doesn't mean this is the year to take the giant leap. Because, look, Fever had AB. They seen improvement in their team, but they still got the number one pick. She was an all-star. She grew. The next year, now they're bringing in Caitlin Clark. And now this is Caitlin Clark's rookie year. And you see the potential. Now we're up to 20 wins that year, I think it was. And then after that, now what happens? They attracted players. They got attracted to them because they got to that point of the rebuild where their first young star got to a certain level, and then they brung in somebody that helped them elevate, but still needs to learn, still need to figure it out. And now that makes older star players or all-star players want to come play and say, hey, this is a young enough good core that if I jump in there, we might be able to go do something. That's the way rebuilds happen. You get some all-star type of vets that want to come as a free agent and be a part of, a young nucleus that look like it could take them to the next level, or you trade for that big piece, that missing piece, and now you're ready to go. And so the sky right now are just at ground level, and it might take another 2 years before they're attractive enough for somebody to come, or before they have more pieces to trade for a bigger player. So it might take some time. So I understand all the frustration I'm seeing online. I get it. Trust me, it's frustrating too to see a 0-3 start, but I do see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I understand where we are. It's just at a rebuild pace. It's just time to rebuild. If you watch Angel's game from last year to this year, I seen a play where she got the rebound, didn't look at nobody, pushed it. I think she took 4 dribbles and was at our free throw line and threw the ball down to Kamilla. That's when she did the reverse move layup. Like that right there was like, okay, we see something. This might take a year to develop into dominance of a play style, but we see something. This is part of a rebuild. We have to build an identity. It's just not players. You have to build a team identity. So unfortunately in the rebuild, I think the unfortunate part is we've had 2 back-to-back rookie coaches. I'm not even blaming those coaches. That's a hard position to be in, because it'd be different if your cornerstone pieces were coming into a structure that's already there. There's more vets on the team that know the play style. They know those sets that we're going to run. They know how the organization. But this is 2 years in a row with these young players having to relearn. Like, this is basically another rookie year, because now the whole coaching staff is totally different. Now I have to learn you, instead of coming back to, hey, I'm familiar with this. This is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to go. And so I'm not pointing the blame at the actual coaches. It's just the situation is terrible to just have rookie cornerstones, no returning vets, no system at all. Everybody's learning on the fly. And that's what we're looking at. So it's I don't want to say utter chaos, but it's a chaotic situation for everybody. There's no stability in what we're seeing in the organization. This is not a bash thing. It's just saying what a rebuild is. But usually you might have a coach that's been there for a long time, or you might have a star player in their prime or on the back end. Like I said, we've seen it with Kobe. He was still in his prime, and he sped up the rebuild because you're building around one of the best players in the world, one of the best players ever. So you can slowly get the right pieces. And then boom, a couple years later, they was back in the championship hunt once they got Lamar Odom and Paul Gasol. But this is a different kind of rebuild. You're rebuilding around people that's learning the WNBA. This is what you're building around, and you don't know what pieces are going to work. So in the midst of all this panic and all this chaos, I stay excited just knowing that we're just in a rebuild. Like this is what happens when you win a championship and everybody goes away. This is just a rebuild. So panic is here, and it's understandable why it's happening. But if you're really locked in, if you really want to see this team win, be patient. Let's see what happens in the next 5 years.